owner of Coastal Capital Funding and has been a strategic mortgage professional for over 11 years throughout the state of California and Washington. He has been loyal to the mortgage industry and has seen his shares of highs and lows. Steve is constant in finding new ways to reinvent himself and creating the wow factor with his prospective clients through utilizing various software and services and mortgage coaching to better educate them and enable them to make a more informed decision. Please welcome your mortgage professor, Steve Berger of Coastal Capital Funding, as he introduces Mortgage Strategies 101. Steve.
Well, good morning, class, and welcome to Mortgage Strategies 101. I am your professor, Dr. Stephen Berger. You don't think I'm a doctor?
You look like one.
I'll show you my credentials right here. Not everybody can get that. I've been in the mortgage brokering industry for the last a little bit over 11 years right now. I've been licensed in the state of California and the state of Washington. And my whole purpose here this morning is to present an overview of the process with which I take a prospective mortgage client through so that we could strategize together, and with the ultimate goal being to wow them so that they would be motivated to refer me again to their friends, family, coworkers, neighbors, etc. And what I'm 90% of my business is preferred business. That's typically how I've built my company. My question to you is, who's actually been through the process of taking out a mortgage? Most people. When you are in a sit down with somebody and you're discussing mortgage options, what is usually your first question with the loan person? It's usually something along the lines of, well, what's my interest rate, or what's my payment going to be, right? Well, those are good questions, but the reason that most people ask that question is because they don't know what else to ask. And they don't know that there's more to the process than that. And that's what I'm looking to do. Is I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to take you through some of the strategies that I utilize when I'm walking somebody through this process. The mission statement that I hold to is in the folder here that I've passed out. You can read that at your leisure. But what I do when I'm meeting up with somebody is I bring my toolbox, but I don't bring a physical toolbox because I can't fix anything. I usually just break stuff because I get frustrated trying to fix things. But usually I have this love-hate relationship with my computer, Felix. So you call guys like that. But I bring my mortgage toolbox. And in my mortgage toolbox, I've got strategies with which I pull out depending on the circumstances. And so in a typical presentation, one of the first things that really comes to people's mind and just trying to help them to understand is how interest rates are derived and how I can help them get into a better interest rate situation in the time frame that we're working under. Right now, we are in a very volatile environment. Rates have been up and down and all over the place. And so I utilize a service called Rate Watch so that the decision to lock in a rate is not guesswork. Most of the time, people that aren't utilizing this, anything like this, or don't even know things like this exist, let me just lock you because I don't want to think about you anymore until closing. And so what I'm doing is I get a lot more strategic in the process. And so because the question might be, the market might be really good right now, so why lock? Why not go for a better interest rate? And with my Rate Watch service, I'm actually getting ongoing, constant text alerts, email alerts. I got my screen pops up, any fluctuations in the marketplace that would affect interest rate. And so here, I've got a typical Fannie Mae mortgage bond opening bell, 6 a.m. This is the price here, and you can see throughout the day, hour by hour, you can see that this is an actual purchasing of mortgage bonds. And what that means is it drives the interest rates down. So a situation like this, Well, you look at it and it might be just, well, why don't we just continue to float? Because tomorrow might be even a better day. And the flip side of that is that you can have a day when investors are moving their money out of bonds now, and they're going to move them into stocks. And these market forces are driven by emotion. So whenever there's a recent jobs report and it's positive or negative, it's going to affect the way the interest rates are rolling, or some kind of world event, or some kind of a world economy. That's how investors are moving money in and out of stocks and bonds. And so that's what's really kind of driving this up and down. So a situation like this, we start to see it. I usually get about 15 minutes. I get my text alert. I got people in the pipeline. So I go in and I lock them before they would lose the rate for that day. I go one step further. I have some banks that even when I lock you, I'm locking in the ceiling, and I'm able to come back and float them back down if the market improves by the time of closing. So I have that kind of flexibility. Most banks aren't doing that. I have the ability to float people down a couple times once I've actually locked them in at the ceiling of things. Other things that I do just to stay on top of things, I subscribe to various experts' commentaries so that I can really know what's going on here. And they're like putting all their 2 cents in as to whether we should lock or float at this time based on kind of current economic conditions. My next strategy that I utilize is a total cost analysis. And this is where when I get people's information and I strategize with them, I give them multiple mortgage options to consider. More than just the rate and the payment. What I've got here is I've got the basic things, the loan amount, the rate, the payment, but I also build in the tax benefit to them. So that because a lot of times people, especially first-time homebuyers, they're not even thinking about that. They need a CPA to tell them, right, John? And then it breaks out the cash to close. And all of my presentations have a personalized video presentation that goes out with the proposal that I'm sending out to them. So, and the cool thing is when they watch it, I get an email alert and I can call them back and, hey, I was just following up. Hey, I was just watching your video. I don't know if they're watching it like at midnight or something. So then the other aspect to this is when you click those information buttons, the more information buttons, you get a breakdown of the loans, of the various options. So here I've got the payment breakdown with the taxes, insurance, mortgage insurance, on all of the 4 categories of loans that we're discussing at the time. And then you go one step further, you can see the cash to close scenario, and then also the closing fee breakdown on each of the 4 options that I send out there. So it's really complete. They've got a whole wealth of information, and I can usually see how long, when they're clicking this, I can see how long they've been on it, because a lot of times people spend a lot of time on it, they're going through all of it, they get all the charts. But it's even more than that, because my next strategy is something that comes up a lot, is some people that are in a rental situation right now and looking at the market and prices are going up and interest rates haven't gone up, but they're coming back down a little bit. What do you do? And I break it all down. I do the same total cost analysis, but in a rental versus owning analysis scenario there. And in this particular instance, I'm contrasting the rent against 4 different mortgage options. And so when you contrast it with those and you build in the tax benefits, so if this person is paying $2,200 on their monthly rent and they can get a monthly mortgage payment with a mortgage of $435,000, and they're only at $2,815 inclusive of property taxes and insurance, and then you take into consideration that there's a $500 tax incentive. Does that mean? Oh. Well, now they're pretty close to their rent. And then it goes one step further in that you can see how this plays out over 5 and 15 years' time. And over 5 years' time, well, I'm going to spend $142,000 in rent, or I'm going to have paid out $168,000 in a mortgage, but $40,000 of that is actually principal reduction, which is kind of like a forced savings account, and also that I'll have $31,000 in tax write-offs in that 5 years' time. And so you can contrast that with all the 4 options. You can see the actual cost, because this takes into consideration the closing cost factor too, and how this would play out over 5 years. and then go one step further. You can see how this would look after 15 years. Additionally, I've got a 3% appreciation factor built in here, and so you can see what the home values would be after 5 and 15 years as well. Alongside of that would be the loan balance and how that would have gone down, and then the net result of that would be the equity in the property after 5 and 15 years versus having nothing in a rental situation. My last strategy that I utilize, and has been effective, is because sometimes you get people that they're fence sitters. They're gonna figure out the market. A lot of first-time home buyers, I find that they're just gonna figure out this marketplace, and they're gonna know exactly when to push the button and buy a home. And so what I've done here is I do a cost of waiting analysis here. Well, let's say we hold up, okay? And I'm taking that with I'm in my rental situation. Here's what it is. I've already gone over with them what it would take to buy today. But let's suppose that let's suppose prices go up 10% over the next year. What does that mean? Is that done? And so I'm giving them an analysis there. A couple quick client testimonials there. Agent testimonial talking about when I'm strategizing with people and how I'm like a cat dropping off the mouse on the porch that they after they kick at the tire, and I go over a lot of these tools with them, and they come back and they're usually turned into buyers. My goal is ultimately to wow them through the process so that they would continue to move onward and onward and onward. But thank you.